you trying to do for real? For real.
Cosmic, psychedelic funk is what I came to do. Yep. Hi. I'm soul by funky. Hey. Soul by funky. Hi. I'm soul by cosmic soul. Hey.
Good morning or good afternoon. This is Alan T. Black, and we want to welcome you to the Authors Authority Lounge, the official TV show for authors. I'm one of the hosts here for this particular program. My co-host.
My name is Nicole Lewis, and welcome to the show.
Again, we want to thank everybody for taking time to tune in today. We are excited. We are very honored to have a guest here that we've been trying to get into the studio a few times, but things sometimes work out the way they're supposed to work out.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's fair to say. So we are very honored to have the esteemed Miss Kara Warner. Miss Warner, how are you doing today?
I'm doing really well. Thank you for having me. And I know it's been somewhat of a challenge of me getting here, but I'm glad to be here today with the both of you. So thank you so much for inviting me.
We appreciate that. We're very honored. So let's get into it. Tell us about the author journey of Kara Warner.
Whew, the author journey of Kara Warner. That's a really great question. I think, first of all, I've always loved to write. Always have loved to read. Even as a young girl, I love to write short stories. I like to write in my journal, my little diary. And I remember when I was about 8 years old, I wrote a children's book, and I illustrated it and all. And I think that was one of the first moments where I told myself that this is probably one of my greatest gifts, is to write. And then when I was in 6th grade, I actually went to a predominantly white school here in Omaha, and I was one out of 2 students of color in the 6th grade, in our 6th grade class.
Okay.
We were given an assignment by our English teacher to write a speech. And I wrote that speech, and I presented it to the class, and then I won the speech because it was a tournament. I won the speech tournament.
Okay.
Then I went on to win the district tournament, and I was the first Black student of that district to win the speech contest. So I think those 2 instances in my life really kind of redirected my thought process as far as my talents as a young girl. And so when I became an adult, I had went through trials, tribulations, different types of feelings, and I thought that it would be helpful for myself first and foremost to begin writing a book. And so I started writing False Feelings Appearing Real, which is my first book. Published book. I started writing that at about 29 years old, and I didn't complete it until 38. So it took me a while, and it was quite the journey. From the time that I started the book all the way up until 38, things had continued to evolve and things had happened in my life, and so I began to add on to the stories that are included in the book.
Okay.
So that's my journey.
Okay.
Awesome. So how many books have you published so far?
Just one.
Just one?
Just one.
Okay.
I'm in the process of writing a second, and hopefully I will be publishing the second book. My goal is sometime next year. But False Feelings Appearing Real is my first published book.
So that being the first book that you wrote, you said essentially it took you 11 years.
Mm-hmm.
How much of that was the struggle to step away and write about what you went through, and still separate yourself from those feelings, reliving it, if we just describe it that way?
Yeah, for me, I think that those 11 years is significant to the fact that I did have to, it was therapeutic first and foremost.
Okay.
And so there were moments where I had to disassociate from writing the book and process how I was truly feeling, in the moment of certain things happening, breakups and relationships. I had my first child at 28. And so just kind of going through the process of motherhood and what that looks like, specifically as a single woman, single mother. You know, my mom had passed at some point, and so I had to kind of relive my feelings towards her death that I wasn't ready to tackle at the moment. And I had a conversation with my father, who was absent for, well, up until my mom passed, to be honest with you. Well, he would come in and out of our lives, but it wasn't until my mother's death that he really kind of stepped up as a father. And we established an awesome relationship that we still have to this day. And so it was also a matter of me writing my father a letter about how I was feeling. And in the first chapter of False Feelings Appearing Real is about the journey that I had to take with reconciling with my father.
That's powerful.
Yeah.
Did you have any moments where you felt like you was kind of blocked and you didn't know where you were going with the book?
Oh, absolutely, for sure. There were moments where I didn't know if I wanted to continue. So I did take that time, and those 11 years, it was a process in terms of healing, in terms of like processing true feelings and sitting in it. I say to other people all the time that for the very first time in my life, I feel like I met my soul purpose when I was writing this book. So it's a process, it's a healing process, and it did take time for me to want to finish the book. Writer's block, like just really not knowing what direction to go with the book. So yeah, I did experience all those things. I did.
What kept you motivated in that process?
Honestly, God, because I knew that there was a purpose in this book. I was actually receiving prophetic words from other people that didn't know me, that, kind of affirmed the fact that I was a scribe. And I remember this pastor, he told me, like, you are a scribe. You have been called to use your words because they will heal others. And so for that reason alone, I said, well, I have to do this. I have to, because it came from God. And so I didn't want to deviate from what God has purposed me to do.
So in the process of that prophecy being revealed to you, initially, how did you receive that? Did you think, maybe I'm not the right person? What were your immediate thoughts?
And like I said before, I always knew that this was like writing. Specifically, I didn't know writing a book was part of the purpose and plan, but writing has always been, I've written poetry and all that. But when I was given that word, it was confirmation. So it wasn't like a, aha moment at that time. It was confirmation that I need to continue writing the book.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, did you find yourself questioning what message you were giving or what message you were delivering in your book?
Yes, quite a bit, because the book, in my opinion, is very raw. A lot of the things that I've gone through in terms of sexual deviancy, in terms of like how I felt insecure in a lot of my male-female relationships, I was like divulging a lot. I divulged a lot in this book. And so, yeah, there was a lot of hesitation. What are people going to think of me? What are my readers going to think of me as a person? Are these experiences valid? Am I the ideal person to be deemed as a published author? Yeah, I went through all of those, those questions of doubt, and worry about what people were going to think of me after reading the book, so especially my family members.
So with the content you said being raw and being very direct, after you got it out, how did that change you as a person?
It gave me more confidence, actually. It gave me more confidence. And even after I published it, I wasn't too sure of how people were going to receive the book. But then when I found that people were actually purchasing the book, which was wild to me. And then they would call and say, this book really, it really hit me deep. You know, there were chapters in the book where I could totally relate. And so when I realized that people were relating to the message of the book, that's when it was kind of the final confirmation that this was divine and by God and through God. I was able to come to terms with I am a published author, you know, and it's, you know, it's interesting because after it was published, I wasn't all the way, to be honest, I wasn't all the way impressed with the packaging of the book, and I wasn't confident about the aesthetic of the book. And so that's just something to think about for next time, you know, and it is a journey that we go through as authors. Like, you're not going to hit, I wanted this to be a bestseller, you know, and it's not, not right now, but I can go back, and I didn't realize I could go back and edit it and do a second edition, you know, things like that. So once I learned truly about the process of writing and becoming an author, I became more confident about the final product.
Okay.
Do you have anything else that's tied to your book that you, a lot of authors, especially when you're talking about self-help, they typically have an addition to, so they use that kind of like as a stepping stone. Do you have anything else that you add to that book?
I feel like, especially since it's a compilation of short stories of women who have gone through trials, tribulations, that have really impacted their self-esteem, I feel that, you know, yeah, I could definitely add on to this book. There's been things that have occurred in my life since publishing this book that I could add to the book. So absolutely, I feel like there is an opportunity for that, and it's something to think about. The second book that I'm in the process of writing is more academic and scholastic, which is obviously a different genre of self-help. But I do think that I need to revisit a second edition of this book for sure.
So it seemed like with the second edition, it becomes an additional vehicle to have information out there for people to read and identify with. Is that an accurate description?
I believe so. Yeah, that is an accurate description of what I envision the second edition will be. You know, it always helped me to read books that were in the self-help genre, because then it made me feel like I'm not the only one that's going through this. But then I also came from the perspective of I'm not healed all the way. When I wrote this book, in my introduction, I say, like, I'm not all the way healed. I'm not a person who's here to preach to the choir. I'm practicing with the choir, you know. So I don't have it all together just because I'm a published author or just because I've overcome some of the situations that are included in the book. I'm healing with everyone else. I'm healing with my readers. You know, so I'm coming from that perspective always. So I think the second edition really would be a benefit to my brand, and also pushing the sale of the first book as well. Because if I publish the second book or the second edition, then people are going to want to read the original or the first. Yeah.
Yeah. So my thought is, are you doing sequels? Because as you continue to grow and as you continue your healing journey, taking your readers on that journey would be amazing.
Oh, wow.
So
I never thought, honestly, have not thought about doing sequels. I have not, but that is a great idea. And I think it is important for my readers to kind of walk with me through this journey. And so I think that's a really awesome idea and something to really consider. Yeah.
So kind of tagging on to what Nicole was saying, now that you're an author, and this is one of Nicole's favorite things to say, it places you in the arena of being an expert, or at the very least, a speaker. So what dimension has that added to the life of Kara Warner?
As far as the public speaking?
Yes.
Oh, actually, it has truly opened doors for more public speaking opportunities. It's actually one of my gifts is public speaking, and I knew that earlier on when I won the speaking contest. So that has this book has absolutely put me in spaces where people are interested in learning more about my story and about Kara as a person, as a human. And so I think that the public speaking arena I'm evolving. I'm not where I would like to be. You know, a lot of public speaking events I actually have done for free. I'm finally getting to the point where I'm kind of like, I need my coins. So, you know, this is a one pager of, if you need me to public speak for 90 minutes, this is the price attached to that. But yeah, public speaking is also one of my passions. And so I truly believe that this book specifically has allowed those doors to open.
Okay.
Who would you say would be ideal, if you had an ideal person that you was like, I know when I publish my book, there's certain people I give it to, and there's certain people that I just sell it to. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
So who would be your ideal person that you would give it to?
I feel that, you know, in the past I have given just anything away to those who God has called me to be a messenger to. And so I always, and like I said, I've done public speaking engagements for free. I don't do that all the time. I really allow what I call the Holy Spirit to determine who I do things for without cost or whatnot. And so there have been moments where I've just felt led to give, no specific reason. I'm not trying to pry, but God will reveal to me who to give and who to charge.
You said your second book is going into more so of the academic realm. What will that book consist of, I should say?
So this book is going in, so I've spoken to a few people and they think that I should divide it into 2 editions. So the first will be about microaggression amongst people of color, and what that looks like in the workplace, what that looks like within the family dynamic, what that even looks like as you being the perpetrator of microaggressions, because we're all, we're not perfect. We all carry biases. So I will never be the one to say, I don't have any biases, or I don't, I'm not a microaggressor. There have been moments where I've given subtle insults or whatnot. And so just being honest and transparent about what microaggression actually looks like, who the perpetrators typically are, and how we can kind of eradicate and overcome some of those instances where you're being subtly insulted, especially in the workplace as people of color.
So there's almost in that particular arena, there's the conscious and then there's the unconscious microaggressions.
Absolutely. Yeah, just like biases or just like discrimination. I personally feel like we all have discriminated against someone, subconsciously or consciously. We all carry biases, and that's due to our lived experiences. And so just giving people the opportunity and tools to be able to identify when they're doing it and when it's being done to them. So that's the direction I would like to go with the second book.
Cool.
That's amazing. I think it kind of keeps you along the line of healing. Because
Yes.
I feel like when dealing with our own personal healing journey, we don't pay attention to, like you said, the microaggressions or workplace aggressions that also traumatize us. So we might have relationship trauma. We might have, family drama and trauma. We might have workplace trauma.
Yes.
And so you're kind of in a holistic perspective. I love it.
Thank you. And that's spot on. If you think about it in terms of the psychological aspect of always experiencing microaggression or racism or biases or whatever, it does traumatize you because your system, what is the term? Your nervous system isn't irregulated. When you're on 10 all the time, or when you feel like even when you go to the grocery store, I'm going to get insulted, I remember walking to the grocery store and I was in the frozen dinner aisle, and I was getting a frozen lasagna, and a non-white older male came up to me, or a non-black, older male came up to me and said, that's really good with hot sauce. You should try the hot sauce on the lasagna. And I was like, oh, okay. Never had hot sauce on lasagna. But then I thought about it and I'm like, well, why did he assume
That you use hot
that
sauce?
I use hot sauce? Is it because I'm black? you know, and so it's kind of like that on 10 all the time. You don't know if you should be insulted or not. Those type of moments, you know, I want to incorporate in that book, and how you can overcome, you know, some of the hypersensitive feeling that you are always being watched, or that you're always being viewed as something negative. And that is a trauma response.
That's true.
It is. So, yeah.
So just using that narrative there and your public speaking background, will there be also workshops formatted into the public speaking component as well?
Absolutely. Even now, I do workshops almost every weekend. Not always centered around microaggression or self-healing, but I definitely want to associate workshops around microaggression and what that looks like. It has become difficult because of the climate that we're living in, where the government is trying to censor and put forth surveillance tools on what we do and how we move in this world, you know, as individuals, as humans. So with the cut of DEI and things like that, it is difficult in terms of funding to move through the space of the topic of microaggression. A lot of people have had to rebrand because of the DEA cuts, you know, in terms of programming. And so that's something that I've thought about, but I also want to be authentic, and I believe in living in my truth. And so if this is an experience that I've had with microaggression, the government can't tell me that I can't speak on it, and I won't allow that, because it's my truth. So yeah, but the workshops, absolutely. Absolutely.
I would like to explore just a little bit, kind of going back to being an author. I know sometimes it's difficult. You talked about wanting to be a bestseller, right? And oftentimes our indie authors don't have access to the big budgets of marketing and promotion. So what are some of the things that you currently do to kind of market your book?
Well, to be honest, I have taken a step back from marketing the book. The book has been out for 3 years. And again, when I first initially saw the final product, I wasn't as pleased. And so there was some shame associated with it, also with other feelings of like, who's really going to read it? You know, are people going to feel a certain way about me after reading the book? So I really have taken a step back from selling the book. But my main platforms, if I'm going to sell, and when I do start selling, my second will be, you know, social media. Obviously, social media, and doing public speaking engagements, and starting to do more or starting to take on more vendor opportunities where I can set up a table and sell the book at a booth and things of that nature. So that will be like my main focus points when I begin to market and sell the second book.
So it also seemed like, Karen, with the second book, you will have gone through that short season of self-doubt,
Yes.
self-criticism.
Yes.
So there won't be that cloud hanging over you for the second time, hopefully.
I don't believe so. No, because there's so much that you learn while writing and editing your very first book. You know what I mean? I had a whole vision about this book. I wanted to go on tour with this book, and I just didn't feel like it was the right time after, you know, given the final product. I didn't feel as strongly about it. I am proud of the book. I don't want to, you know, come off as, you know, being overly negative about the first book, but this is like taking a first test at a school, you know, or in class. Like you're taking your
Hold
first
your book up so we can see it.
false feelings appearing real. So this was like my first test.
So let's say hypothetically, if you had somebody that redesigned your cover of your book, would you feel more confident?
Yes,
Then?
absolutely.
So maybe that's something that we can discuss,
Yes.
Sure.
I would
getting
love
that redesigned for you.
I would love that. Yeah. Yeah. And a few other things, you know. So that's why I talk more about the second edition of this book. And I just want to be confident about this book specifically. Now, the content in the book, I'm incredibly proud of. And that's one of the main reasons why I will continue to push this book amongst family and friends and whoever else wants to read it. I think it's an amazing book. But yeah, it's trial and error, and I'm learning.
Well, it's a learning process too for your first book, because I think it's natural when you do the first book and you look back and you say, oh, I should have done this or I should have done that. And so I'm of the opinion that's just all part of the process. So we can't necessarily get caught up in that to the point where we become self-defeating in a way. So we're getting under about 2 minutes. So what we want to make sure that we do, Kara, is to get your contact information. How can people reach you? Where can they get the book? And also, like you said, you do public speaking, you're doing workshops. So we want to make sure we can get your information out there so people can know how to contact you.
Absolutely. So I can be contacted via Facebook, Kara Warner, email kara.warner2023@outlook.com. As far as speaking engagements that are coming up, I do have a website, www.karawarner.com. I will hopefully be attending a conference in Africa, Ghana, and Kenya in August.
Awesome.
I have been asked to speak, be one of the speakers. And so that is something that I'm really looking forward to. I also run a program called Beauty is Skin Deep, and I've been running it for 15 years. So we are celebrating the 15th year anniversary of that program in July 19th, which is my mother's birthday. She passed away 15 years ago, actually, as well. And Nicole Lewis is actually our keynote speaker for our ceremony on July 19th.
I think I've heard about that.
So you should come and support. Yeah,
Okay.
July 19th from 3 to 6:30
6. Okay.
at the Essential Gathering Place.
Okay. Yeah, I think I've seen something on
Yeah.
Facebook about it. So that's
Yes.
exciting. So congratulations
Thank you.
on your journey.
Thank
and
you.
as they say in the church, the best is yet to come.
Amen. And I
We
received
know
that.
that there's more out there for you. So we want to thank you again. We're going to get ready to wrap up, Nicole, because we're getting down to about 15 seconds.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you again for being with us, audience. This has been the Arthur's Authority Lounge, the official TV show for Arthurs. We want to thank Kara again for being our guest.
Thank
We
you.
look forward to seeing you at the next show. Check everything out. Be blessed. We're out. We'll see you later. Bye-bye.
What you trying to do for real? For real.
Cosmic psychedelic funk is what I came to do. Yep.